So the first thing now we'll need to do is undo the cabinet itself. So the control cabinet has got the computers, TVs, monitor screens and everything else inside. And the way we've packed them is that we have to undo these two little Allen head bolts. Okay, put that aside for the moment, we will need that again. Now it allows us to take everything out that's in here. So, that's the monitor. This one here is the TV that goes into the reception area. We'll put all that aside for the moment. Computer and everything else. So basically just empty the control box now. So there is two shelves in here which will be required to assemble the cabinet. We'll just take them out now. So inside the plastic bag with the legs are also the little bolts that you need to assemble the cabinet with. So the first thing is you put the little bar in, but don't tighten the screws fully yet. The large shelf goes in at the top, so it slides in and it sits on the front of this bar, and it needs to be in the front of it. Now we just put all the screws in for the shelf. That's how the shelf gets assembled. Once we got the top shelf in, we put the bottom shelf in, the same thing, so just the screws come in from the side. And once you got all the screws in, finger tight, you can just tighten the whole thing up. And then your cabinet is ready. Now we're just tipping them over and the legs get inserted as so. So the control cabinet in an ideal situation goes about between 3 and 5 meters to the front of the test track to the right. This is where we're going to install this here. If this is not possible, then you can always have the control cabinet somewhere else, but then you will have to run longer cables for a second monitor and for the camera, so it becomes certainly a lot more complicated to install. So the main cables will come out through the back of the cabinet or wherever you can get it in. You can even bring it from underneath. It depends a little bit on the circumstances. This box actually fits underneath here, and the two cables and the two main cables will actually fit in here. The left side will go into the second part of the black box. The other one will go into the first side of the black box. So again, the cables, very careful with how you plug them into the black box itself. They only can go into the first two knobs here. If you got them swapped around, don't worry about it, we will find it later. So also we have the gray cable which goes into the first one and this part of the black box. So you'll just plug that into here like so. Then the other end of the gray cable goes into this little white box like so. And then this part of the cable, this is like a printer cable, this will go into the back of the computer. So that's how you set this up. And then we'll have the power supply, and the power supply fits into this part of the black box. And now this is ready, set up the way you need it. The power supply for this we use out of the printer box, because for the printer we need to have a right angle one, so the printer will fit into the cabinet. So we just exchange the two of them. That's all we do here. So there are various holes in the back of the cabinet where you can bring your cables up to the next stage. So you want the cable for the computer and the power supply for the black box in this part of the control cabinet. The rest of it just sits down here. Okay, Then we use the power board. We usually place the power board in this part of the cabinet as well. You can already plug the black box in. Leave that sitting in here. This one here will go out through the back, where we then can plug the main cables in. So the computer should be written down. If not, important is that the black box is well away from the camera, and the camera is always on a blue or at least 2.0 speed USB. And then you put your and the middle part we will be using for the printer. And then your computer is basically set up. We usually use the computer just straight in here. For the printer, we use the square bit on the back here. Make sure that's in properly. There we go. And also the printer cable in the first part of the outlet. It actually will go into both. So into this one, bring that across, close it up. Okay, just like that, and then the whole thing goes inside. Down where the cabinet has got holes, so it'll go down to the bottom shelf, because that's where we've got the power board. So now that we've got everything plugged in, we switch the computer on, and let's have a look what comes up on here. So it's asking us COM4 for the moment. This could be COM3, 5, anything. Just go OK for the moment and let it run. And you can see it should come up with uploading and everything, and this is how the whole computer should come up. If not, you might have to go into Setup, click on Setup, go into Maintenance, into the COM port, and find the highest COM port that is available and click OK. But now we can see everything is up and running. If you now just check first on Setup, so you click on Setup, you go into Maintenance, we go into Sensor View, and we want to make sure that all these numbers are in green. So you can see they're all nicely together. It could be that on the bottom here, and I'll just show that to you in the black box. So it could be that you have these two cables left and right mixed up. Then it will show that to you. The wheel alignment will be in red and the stop go will be in red. That's the easiest way that you can figure it out. So now the machine is ready and set up. We'll exit this screen here. We have to now check that the latency timer is correct. So to do that, you click on the Start button, you go into Control Panel, you go into the category, make it into large icons. It's easier that way. Go into Device Manager. Now we scroll down to ports, COM and LPT. Can we see that on here? Yeah. Open this up, go into USB serial port. That's in the port settings. This device is working properly, great. Go into port settings and go into advanced. And in here you will find that the latency timer most likely is on 16. This will have to be brought back into 1. And then you go OK. You OK yourself out of it. Your hardware has changed. You must restart your computer. Follow these changes. Do you want to restart your computer now? Yes. Okay, so now that we restarted the computer, it came back up with this. So the last thing that I check now is that the printer is on the right thing. So it'll be an Oki printer. It can be on copy 1 or 2. Always use the last copy. This one here is the correct one, so we don't have to do anything else there anymore. Now we click on F1 for brake test and make sure that the brake test is actually coming up, that the camera is coming up. There we go. Perfect. All we now need to do is make sure that the camera is adjusted properly to the test track. Usually you want it sort of to make a photo of the car from the front if you can. Now, obviously, this camera can be mounted anywhere. but you can't have more than a 5-meter USB, powered USB with it, which is usually in one of our boxes available for you. But try to have the camera as close as possible to the computer. And your system is ready to go. Okay, so one more thing, you will need to put the right inspection station into the computer now. So click on there. Your authorization is Platetronic with a capital P. And now you can type in the correct address, details for wherever the installation happened. When you finish with it, okay yourself out of it, and these will now be stored in the computer and you're ready to operate. So there's various marketing material that comes with it. We'll show you quickly how we normally set it up. So there's a couple of large signs. They can even go outside. There is an important sign that we usually put to the front of the machine. Caution, not more than 2.5 tons per axle. And you also have a little sign like this, which we usually place inside the printer just to remind us what the actual testing procedure is like. So we'll just show you how to set this up now. Depending on model and what you choose, you might also get a TV display port with your machine. Usually that gets installed in your service reception area. So you can see you have a TV on here that's got a USB stick in it that runs a promotional video to the customer. We usually put this sign onto the TV stand, and down here you have your little Honest Mechanic A5 papers as well. When you set this up, make sure that the legs, the longer part of the leg goes to the front, the shorter part goes to the rear. That way it is a nice and stable setup.